The Mist of Pandaria
Remix!
Everybody who plays or has played World of Warcraft likely came across this new way of playing for a limited time. I in fact haven't played WoW since the beginning of Shadowlands, which seems to be the only good part of the expansion, and I came across this mode a lot. And for most of the time I had no idea what it actually was. The only part that I've heard a million times was the fast leveling. Seriously, I read that people have been leveling all of their fucking alts, and WoW players usually have every class and race combined. On both sides. There are dozens of guides on YouTube telling me that I could push a new character to max level in only 2 hours. 2 hours! When I started with WoW during Wrath of the Lich King, the leveling was taking so long that I only ever had one alt. And that was a Death Knight. So leveling a new character to max level in only 2 hours sounded awesome. But these kinds of guides felt fishy. You can reach max level in 2 hours if you know what you're doing. I watched one of these videos halfway and I basically have to spam dungeons, but I also need this cape grinded out to be as fast as possible and already too complicated. Look, I've done none of this. Right now I'm literally a new player who wants to get in on the action. Nothing's grinded, I just want to create a new character and reach max level. And since no video guide has answered this question, let me be the one to do this. How fast can you reach max level in the Mist of Pandaria
Remix!
if you have no idea what you're doing? Alright, so first of all I need a character, and since I've already created Yoruichi in numerous games, a WoW character was long overdue. She's a native druid simply for the reason of turning into a cat. Calling her Yoruichi and... calling her Yoruichi and there we go. I also put a timer on the screen to emphasize that I'm in a hurry. I have basic WoW experience, so I don't need to read all of the quests and just skip everything. So the game starts and I'm instantly confused. The HUD is different, no attack spell in my bar, and when I turn into a cat, the bar didn't change like I expected. I didn't understand how I get the first mob to spawn and ran around like a headless chicken. When I found the mob, I only used auto attack and forgot to loot the item I needed, so I had to figure out how to actually spawn it. It was simple, I just had to click this thing. After 3 minutes and 40 seconds, I finally finished the first quest. That's when I decided to put some cat attacks I already knew into my bar so I could fight. The rest of the starting area went smoothly. I got my magic cape and started collecting threads. For everyone who didn't know, these random thread items make your cape permanently stronger by adding various stats, I think. And these updates are kind of account wide, so if you collect a lot of threads, the cape of a new character will be stronger from the beginning, I think. Anyway, while auto-walking I loaded a new HUD preset I made before to not waste my time standing around. This is a speedrun after all. After leaving the first area I once again don't know what to do and jumped down from the airship instead of using the helicopter. Right after that I need to equip a Skyfire parachute. Since I didn't saw one in 1 second, I thought I had to wait for this nice lady to finish a dialogue. 15 minutes in and I was able to finally properly quest in Pandaria. I also decided at that point that I should start queuing for dungeons as a DPS. 4 minutes later I quit and just queued for every role. I mean, why wouldn't I? And after another 4 minutes I finished my quests and arrived at Pandaria village. Very clever pun by the way, with level 12. Remember that you start with level 10 in this mode. There I was teleported by a quest giver to learn dragon riding, which was introduced in the last expansion which I didn't play. So I just clicked through everything, not knowing what they wanted from me, and accidentally picked the proto drake without looking at the others. Ah man, the blue highland drake is so cool, I don't even like proto drakes. Fuck! But I found out how fun dragon riding is and yeah, straight up loving it. At 32 minutes I found my first dungeon group, which definitely took way longer than I hoped for. And then someone declined. But due to my other roles, I shortly after found a group as a healer, which is, by the way, the only role I never played. I tanked SEC during its time, and DPS really don't need any qualifications. A healer shoulders a huge burden though. I won't lie, I was pretty nervous when I suddenly saw the loading screen. But then someone just sold out the dungeon and it was like free EXP. I even missed a bunch because I was too far behind. The great thing about dungeons in the remix is the extra EXP that drops with each boss. The dungeon took like 2.5 minutes and I got an entire level. Being back in Pandaria, surrounded by so many enemies that I could barely walk, felt so bad after this. I queued again, forced myself to keep questing, but only half a minute later the next invite popped up. You see where this is going. Another dungeon, another level, another reality check back home. Another dungeon, another level. Why am I even questing? But as soon as I asked myself this question, the invite suddenly stopped, and I had to keep questing. And it felt miserable. Just when I arrived in the baboon forest, the timer hit 1 hour, and I was level 18. I know that everyone says that you have to play optimal and grind out your cape to reach max level in 2 hours, but 8 levels in 1 hour is just really demotivating when you hear about how fast everyone else is. And on top of that, fuck the baboon forest. These fuckers are absolutely everywhere. I can't take a single step without pulling at least one of them. That's when I decided to change up my plan. I queued for every single role in the dungeon finder. I can be used for literally anything like a whore and I still don't get into dungeons. So what if I only queue as a tank? The role that always takes the longest. And I'm in. If you can queue as a tank, always queue as a tank. You'll get dungeon after dungeon, and even if it takes a little longer sometimes, you should still get an invite under 6 minutes. And the best part is that you don't even need to tank anything. Just go with the group, try to take quests, loot the bonus EXP, and every dungeon is at least 1 level. You might wonder what my skills and rotation look like, so I never looked back at my skills and rolled with what I had. The points in my skill tree were also randomly put in between dungeons. The biggest problem I had in these dungeons was my cat form, because my attack spell suddenly disappeared. There were dungeons in which I only auto-attacked due to this, and can you guess what happened? Since I queued as a tank, my talent spec switched as well, and the cat attacks I first skilled now weren't skilled at all. I think it took me like 2 dungeons to see this. I swear I played this game before. There's also this quest in the baboon forest where you need to collect skulls on the ground. However, it was a nightmare to gather these. Everywhere I went I had baboons attacking me, and once they were dead I had a dungeon invite. I accept, come back, and the baboons were back as well. I legit stopped queuing for dungeons at some point because the shit became so personal I had to finish this quest. I moved on to the next area, but I honestly stopped questing at this point. Running dungeons was just so much more efficient, it was insane. There are dungeons that take longer than others, but they're all pretty fast in their own way. Well, at least until I stumbled into this shithole. Can we talk about this for a second? Who the fuck thought it was a cool boss fight to stand on the staircase and wait for several minutes until you can actually fight the fucking boss? That shit was awful. When the timer was around 3 hours and I sat on level 33, I decided to try going into heroic dungeons instead of normal ones. I didn't immediately feel a huge difference in terms of EXP, but the dungeon itself also didn't feel harder, so it was the right decision to keep doing them. Right after that I jumped into raids. You can really feel how my morale was higher than ever since I started queuing as a tank. Sadly, raids were the biggest disappointment in the session. I got nearly no EXP from enemies and the bonus EXP from bosses felt the same as in the heroic dungeons. Wait, I'm editing right now and I didn't get any bonus EXP at all. What the fuck? I tried another raid just in case I got a bad one, but no. Both raids were a huge waste of time and I immediately went back to heroics. When I got the bug dungeon again, I just left and couldn't queue for half an hour. That's where I decided to call it a day since it was almost 1 AM. My results so far? Level 38 after 3 hours and 40 minutes. This is almost twice the time I was aiming for and about half the levels. But you know what? I finally got into the flow and learned a few important lessons. No more questing, no raids ever, and most importantly, I can't leave the bug dungeon, so I just need to endure it. And what can I say? The second session 1 day later was so good. Like I said, I didn't quest anymore. I was mainly flying around with my bird form and had fun with dragon riding while waiting for my dungeon invites. But unlike before, this time I had to actually start tanking. I didn't get too many people who were just hard carries, but it was actually quite fun. But I still didn't look at my new spells and just kept using the ones I already had. I did my skill tree, but mainly because the notification for new points was annoying, so I just clicked the pictures I liked and used what suddenly appeared in my bar. This skill right here, no idea what it was, but once I engaged the boss I instantly used it. It looked like some kind of shield to boost defense and it turns out it does increase my armor. Top tanking intuition right here. I also feel like I gained a lot more EXP than the day before, but I think that was due to the heroic dungeons. I leveled so quickly, no time wasting bullshit except for this one fucking time where I had to sit through this shit again, but otherwise I had a run. I leveled and leveled and leveled and leveled until I finally reached level 70. After another 2 hours. I got so much gear while doing these runs that I was really relieved to finally get rid of all of this. I went to the transmog, bought some cosmetics with my bronze coins and created the most Yorichi looking outfit I could at this moment. And now I'm done. A new character without any previous bonuses and the most non-optimal way of playing took me 6 hours to reach max level. So what do I think? I think 6 hours for a max level character is crazy. Even though people have been throwing the 2 hours term around, I don't think that's the time to aim for. Like I said, I remember when leveling in alt was a whole journey and took weeks if not months. Being able to do this in 2 hours is insane and I'm happy for everyone who can do this. But I wanted to aim for a more realistic scenario. A scenario in which an old player or a complete newcomer wants to level a new character to jump right into the action. And realistically, I think around 6 to 7 hours should be doable for most people. DPS will have a harder time to queue for dungeons, but if you have a healer or a tank role, go with it. The dungeons are super easy and most of the time you'll be carried anyway, just do it. This is clearly more of an entertainment video than a real guide, but I do hope I might have motivated some people to... Wait, by the time this comes out the mod has already ended. Maybe I motivated you for the next remix? When it stays the same? Ah fuck, this video was an excuse to level a Yoruichi and play WoW again, isn't it? Subscribe for more WoW content, bye!